Alright guys, what is good with y'all? Welcome back to another Forza video. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 picks for S2 racing and Forza Horizon 4. So these are not like the top 5 best, but these are like the top 5 I strongly recommend. They're all really good with cornering and speed. Yeah, we're literally just going to start the video right now. So at number 5, we got the 2016 Aston Martin Vantage GT12. Yes, that's the name. Vantage Aston Martin. So this is a rear-wheel drive S2 build. I believe the stats on it, I got 942 horsepower with 692 foot-pounds of torque, 3,198 pounds. So it is pretty lightweight, and it's 52% weight ratio or whatever the heck it's. I forgot what it was called, but 52% of the weight is on the front and 48 is on the back. Front engine, so the rear end really won't stick out that much, so you won't have to do a lot of rear aero, which I have none on this car. I only have front aero on this car because rear aero just slows you down, and this car does not need rear aero to corner. It already corners like a beast. It's rear wheel drive, S2, almost 1,000 horsepower, almost 700 foot-pounds of torque. This car hauls ass. The only problem is it is rear wheel drive, so if you are doing online racing, everybody does all-wheel drive, so you will not be able to compete in this car if it is all-wheel drive and you're competing with, a rear-wheel drive vehicle while everyone is all-wheel drive. But this thing corners like a beast. Once it gets up to speed, it gets up to speed. So, launch right there. And this thing brakes very fast. Look at that. Braked really quick. Corners really well as well. Accelerates out of corners pretty nicely. You obviously have to go soft with it, but it goes really well. Backhand doesn't get thrown out as much. Corners pretty well. This thing brakes really well, so that's why I'm kind of going a little slow on the corners, because this is like not my main S2 vehicle, but it is my top 5. I really do like how this vehicle performs. But anyways, let's get to the top 4, and the top 4 we are gonna have. This is the 2014 back mono. So this car is not a lot of horsepower, but horsepower is not everything. This car is about, I think, 1,400 pounds. Let me check that for you real quick. So yeah, 1,250 pounds, pretty lightweight. So I always try to have my car as light as possible before I start adding power to it in my class, because it is a lot easier to move a lighter car. Cornering is where it's at, and this car absolutely demolishes the corners in any class. In S1 and S2, this car demolishes corners. Yes, it is not very fast, but this thing is extremely grippy. It's super grippy, and this is an all-wheel drive build because S1. And this is a lot of horsepower for a light car, so I had to do all-wheel drive for that acceleration. But this tune is phenomenal. This thing grips the road like the road is made out of glue. And Forza roads are very slippery for some odd reason. But yeah, this thing hauls. It absolutely corners, especially on high speeds. And it already comes with like aero stock. So this thing can like demolish a corner. It brakes super fast, super light car, and it's just amazing. But the only problem with this car, it is not very high speed at all. This car is pretty slow, so when you're on straights, most S2 cars will be like 250 miles an hour, maybe even like 270, sometimes probably 300 miles an hour, like the Ferrari FNX, whatever. But this thing demolishes in the corners. It takes such tight corners at such high speeds. It is perfect for that. You might be falling behind, but if it's a map that, has to use a lot of cornering, you will literally win. I won S1 in this car. This car was like 300 horsepower in S1 rear-wheel drive, and this cornered like an absolute beast. I was able to get ahead of everyone, even in competitive online. Just because this thing could corner so fast. It was getting 10 to 15 miles faster than every single person who would corner there, because This is a super light car, you know. Let's say you were 300 pounds and you lost 100 pounds. You are 200 pounds now. It is significantly easier to change directions when you're walking or running than it was when you were 300 pounds. So yeah, this is my top 4 pick. It is my top 4 pick because it is slow, but it's not my top 5 pick because this thing can corner extraordinarily well. But anyways, let's get to the top 3. So my top 3 is going to be the 2013 McLaren P1. So this car is number 3 because it is not as slow as number 2 or it's not as fast as the number 2 slot and the number 1 slot, but it corners pretty well and it has speed, you know. But it's just not fast. But I do like this car. It has more horsepower than my top 1 placement, but it's just not as fast. Let me show you the stats of this bad boy. So it has 903 horsepower. My bad, it's actually less than my top 1 class, but it doesn't have a lot of torque, and it's pretty light, 3,000 pounds, but not too light. It's still pretty heavy, but it's pretty easy to corner with. It's also not a very fast car, but you know, speed is not the most important thing for me personally. Cornering is. So these are mostly grip tunes. It's usually what I go for. So you'll see a lot of aero on these, and they'll also be pretty light. So it's not a lot of horsepower. It has almost the same amount of torque and horsepower as the Aston Martin, but this car is significantly faster and it accelerates a lot faster and is a lot more cornerier. Corners pretty well. So I do have some long gears on this car just to catch up to speed, you know, and also long gears really help with reducing wheel spin. So when you do full throttle through a corner, you won't get much wheel spin with longer gears. You will slow down a lot, but because your gears are so much longer, you will have, you know, a better like chance of having more grip when exiting a corner. You know, eliminating the possibility of you getting into a drift. But I really do like this car. Corners pretty well, but it is faster than the Aston Martin, like by a long shot. But it's not faster than the other 2 cars. So this is why it's in top 3. But I do recommend this car. But it is pretty expensive. Unlike the Aston Martin, which is cheaper, and the Mono, I literally got it from a wheel spin, and it is pretty cheap. But these other cars, they're going to be pretty, you know, okay price. They're not like over the top expensive, but they do have a pretty hefty price tag. So, yeah, nothing really much to say about this car. It just goes zoom and it go turn. So anyways, let's hit the number 2 spot. And the number 2 spot is the 2015 Ferrari F12 TDF, I believe. This car is really fast. I believe it reaches a higher top speed than my number 1 pick because, you know, it's just fast. It's a pretty fast car. But the reason it is not number 1 and the reason that it's number 2 is because it doesn't corner as fast as number 1. Number 1 is fast and it corners, and because of that cornering, I can get ahead of people so much faster. You know, because most races involve cornering, not drag race. This thing I would take out on like some highway speed race, you know, which will just be a drag race because it's just going straight, you know. But this is why it's my number 2 pick, because it doesn't corner very well. But once you do get straight, it goes zoom. It slows down pretty high, but not as fast as my number 1 pick as well. So the brakes are not as good, but it is pretty good right here for like straights because it hauls ass. So let me show you the horsepower. It is 1,404 horsepower with 905 foot-pounds of torque, but it is 3,470 pounds. So it's pretty hefty. And there's a lot of horsepower behind this car as well. So it is going to take a lot of braking power to stop. But it accelerates. Like, it's not the fastest acceleration, but once it gets grip, it goes. But it is pretty quick. And like I said, once it gets grip, it goes. I didn't slow down fast enough there. Doesn't slow down as fast as the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin, I think, is probably fastest. Oh, come on. Aston Martin, I think, is one of the fastest cars that slow down. It has some pretty good brakes, but not as fast as the Mono. But Yeah, this thing hauls. It is pretty fast, but not very good at corners, as you saw there. It could not take that corner very well. Sorry, I'm not cornering very well. I'm really tired. It's like the middle of the night, and I just wanted to get this video done. So I'm not performing at my peak, but when I did test these cars out at my peak, this car was just not it for cornering. But anyways, that's all I have to say about it. It is an all-wheel drive build because you can't compete with rear-wheel drive in online. But anyways, let's get to my last pick, and I absolutely love this car. It's amazing, and I couldn't find anything to replace it yet. So this is why it's my #1 list. And this next car is going to be the 2017 Lamborghini Centenario. So you can take that spoiler off in the back to give it some more speed, but you will be making it an X-Class because it is pretty much max upgraded to S2. Just 2 points behind, I believe. Let me check. 3 points behind being X-Class, and this arrow slows it down by like 4 miles just to get it in S2 class. Because if I take off the rear arrow, it doesn't really affect it that much. There's like no downforce on this rear arrow because this car performs phenomenally well in corners. It is all-wheel drive stock, so I didn't feel too bad doing a drivetrain conversion on this. Because most cars I do have to do a drivetrain conversion. It kind of feels bad because it's not true to the car, but you have to take sacrifices, I guess, to succeed. But this thing is stock all-wheel drive, so I did not feel bad about giving it another drivetrain. But this thing corners. Front arrow, highly recommended. Front arrow increases your cornering speed significantly. But this is a pretty good build as well. I spent so much time on this thing. But let me tell you the stats. So it is pretty light, 2,977 pounds. It is 1,110 horsepower and 744 foot-pounds of torque. It is not as fast as the Ferrari, but it is so much better than the Ferrari in every way. First of all, it's drip. Second of all, it's stock all-wheel drive, so I don't feel bad about doing a drivetrain. And this car does not need rear arrow. I only had to put that on to bring it down a few PR, to have it in S2 class because it slows it down enough. But this car accelerates extremely fast and it slows down extremely fast. Perfect for cornering, perfect for getting out of cornering. Doesn't throw its back end out a lot either. It's perfect. It's literally perfect. On the straights, it hauls ass. Corners, it hauls ass. This car, I usually catch up to people in corners, and it's just fast enough to pass them. I have not had any issues with this car ever, unlike the Ferrari where I did go too fast in a corner and didn't complete the corner. This car, I push it to its limit in corners, and I really do like that. I don't have to be very soft with the handling of this car like the Ferrari. So this is why it's my #1 class, and this car is extremely fast. I've tuned this to perfection so far, but I'm constantly tuning this car, making it better and better every single day because it's phenomenal. Accelerates so fast, it turns so fast. It's a cornering beast. Accelerates so fast. The gears are pretty long, but not too long. So I can catch up to speed, but I can also accelerate out of corners no problem. Like you see right there, I pushed it a little too hard, but I was able to save myself, unlike the Ferrari. Can't push myself too much, or it just doesn't have enough grip. I pushed myself a little too hard there, actually too much. Driving a little too careless, but this thing shines in corners. Right now I'm not at my peak performance because I'm a little tired, and I do play with a wheel because I just get more accurate cornering with a wheel than I do with the controller. I just don't feel the car as well as I do with the steering wheel. I know that sounds a little weird, like sim wheel and Forza, but yeah, it really helps with cornering. Gets like more precise corners, but this car is phenomenal. And it also looks drip. It doesn't look as ugly as the Ferrari. I'm sorry if that offended any of you guys, but I really do not like the look of the Ferrari at all. It is horrifying. But yeah, this car is my #1 pick. It's amazing. It never let me down in online racing, which is really hard to compete in because online racing is some goofy stuff. You see some weird shit like POP 50s smoking you, no problem. Oops, shifted down too early, too late, or yeah, too. Dang, I'm hauling this thing way too hard right now. I'm just like trying to go fast, you know, pushing it over its limits, but it is a really nice car. It's just never failed me. So this is why it's my number 2 pick, or number 1 pick. Don't haul it like I am, because I'm just not performing very well. But I think this thing slows down pretty quick. You know, it doesn't lose grip often at all. Like, I'll slow down, once I let go of brake, I can start turning again. It's phenomenal. Dang it. Keep hauling ass over that corner. But yeah, this is my top 5 picks for S2 class racing. Hope I didn't say S1. But S1 was my previous video I made, so if you guys do want to check that out, the link is gonna, you know, be in, or it's gonna pop up somewhere, or just go to my channel and find S1 class, but I'm gonna put it in the description just to make it easier. If you guys do have any S1 class cars that you would like to, you know, race and you don't know what to pick, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll be hopping off because it's the middle of the night and I need to get some sleep. So see you guys later. Peace.